What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out. Indecision, overthinking, second-guessing every choice you make. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Beige on beige on beige. In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/ACAST and use code ACAST at checkout.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay. And you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. We tell you what you need to know. Follow up on context. Just try to help each other understand, for goodness sake.
Today, Dr. Niki tells us about the tech used to discover a brand new color and what the EU fined Apple and Meta for.
It wasn't the color. Spoiler. It was other things. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Jenn Cutter.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. The European Commission has been investigating violations of its Digital Markets Act by Apple and Meta and has determined that violations occurred and what those fines will be. Now, the Digital Markets Act requires gatekeeping companies in specific markets to comply with stricter rules to prevent anti-competitive practices. If you violate one of these rules, you can be fined up to 10% of global annual revenue. But the fines in these first two violations are less than 0.1%. So it's not always going to be that big old 10% fine. There are a lot of different investigations and rules going on, so let's break it down for you. The commission says the DMA requires Apple to let developers inform customers of alternative ways to purchase digital products besides Apple's own payment option. Apple calls this steering, and they have anti-steering rules. The steering is when a developer links out to its own website to let you pay for something there. Let's say you got Netflix and you want to subscribe to Netflix. Anti-steering prevents Netflix from giving you a link to its website to subscribe to Netflix, which is why the Netflix app doesn't have any way to pay for Netflix in the iOS app outside of the EU. Now, Apple requires the developer in the EU to have very strict things go along with that link. So you can link out to your own payment option, but you can't show pricing on your way to linking it. You can't promote any discounts or offerings, and you have to keep track of how many people use that link and pay and give Apple a cut of that. The European Commission found those terms were overly strict, and while the EC is fine with Apple charging a fee for this, they don't have a problem with them charging you a commission on every link that results in a payment. They found that Apple was taking too big of a cut. And so Apple was fined 500 million euros, and Apple says it will appeal that.
Okay, so the fee is too high, but they weren't specific about what they would be happy with. And I'm wondering why they're okay with that very strict steering.
They are not okay with the strict steering. They're like, your steering's too strict. You need to reduce it. But they also didn't say what they should do, right? So it's very much of like, you'll know when you've done it right. I think they don't want to be in the position of the government telling the business what it should do. They want to be in the business of saying what you did wasn't sufficient. Let's give it another try. And they do preliminary investigations. They do consultations. So it's not like Apple didn't have any signal from the EU of whether this was an issue or not. Apple probably knew it wasn't going to pass this investigation, and that's why it's going to appeal this to a judge.
Yeah, it's a lot of teenagers testing limits, but this is a huge, huge act. So even for large companies, which is why they are specifically going after gatekeeping companies, it's going to take a while for all this to shake out.
Yeah. And Apple's not going to pay this fine right away. It's going to appeal. So we'll see where it ends up. There's also, we're still on Apple. We haven't even got to Meta yet. There's a separate investigation going on where the EC issued a preliminary finding that Apple did not properly implement the option to let developers offer alternative ways to download apps outside the App Store. And again, Apple does allow this. It's just how they're allowing it that the EC has a problem with. This is a preliminary finding, so Apple has a chance to respond and maybe change the final ruling. Apple charges a fee for you to offer a download outside of the App Store, a commission on your downloads. Developers must meet strict security requirements to provide third-party app stores, to provide sideloading. And the EC, again, believes the requirements are too strict and the fee structure is too high. Apple charges 50 cents per app for downloads after the first million, although there are certain kinds of apps that are exempt from any kind of fee. The commission also believes Apple makes it too difficult for users to find and install third-party apps and app stores. So Apple has a chance to respond to this preliminary finding before it's finalized and before the EC determines what kind of fine, if any, should be involved in this. Finally, on Apple, the EC closed its investigation into Apple's implementation of browser choice rules, finding them sufficient, saying, yeah, we looked at it, no violation. You're good there. Apple's browser choice is fine. All right, let's move on to Meta. Meta attempted to comply with requirements that users give consent to receive targeted ads by giving European users the option to pay a subscription fee to get its product without ads. The commission found that offering a choice between paying and not paying didn't count as an equivalent service. They're saying you need to have an equivalent service, which means it's free. You can't have one that's pay and one that's not, which honestly, it leaves it in a weird situation where Meta would have the option of offering Facebook only for a fee. The EC would be fine with that, but Facebook doesn't want to do that because that's going to reduce its users too much. Meta has changed the policy it's being fined for already. They just changed it too late. They now offer a less personalized ads option for free that shows ads based on context, what's on the page, rather than personal information. And the EC is looking at whether that complies as well. But for the earlier policy of you either pay or you get targeted, Meta was fined 200 million euros and ordered to cease and desist, though it already changed it. The new policy is still being evaluated for compliance. Meta says it will appeal this $200 million fine as well. And in a separate investigation, the EC dropped its look into Facebook Marketplace because it doesn't meet the definition of a gatekeeper. There's not enough business users of Facebook Marketplace in the EU, so they no longer have to comply with DMA regulations on that.
Which also sounds like some solid shade. I know that's not the point.
Right. You don't even have enough users. It's not worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh, this stuff is bad, but this is small potatoes. We're not even going to look at it.
Yeah. When you have a threshold, though, that's always going to be the case. And it is about business, not regular users for the DMA specifically. We're talking about enterprise level stuff in this particular case. But I think it's interesting, too, that Meta changed its policy, but the EC is still going to be like, you changed it too late. I imagine that'll make up part of Meta's appeal is like there should be some good faith, like we changed the policy eventually, maybe that fine should be reduced or eliminated.
Yeah, it's the whole teenagers thing. It's like, well, I emptied the dishwasher, I just didn't do it when you said. It's like, okay, like you're still going to have to answer for that a little bit because you knew it was wrong.
You could also characterize it as the EC having said comply with this rule. Facebook did it. The EC said we don't think that complies. Facebook said, oh, okay, we'll change it. But then the EC fined you for not guessing right in the first place. Kind of depends on where you sit, right?
Yeah, it's all about the timelines. And these are going to be some very long charts at the end of all of this.
Yeah, especially because there's lots of appeals and lots of changes to the fines that'll be ordered by judges and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
DTNS is made possible by you, the listener, thanks to Jim Hart, Mike Akins, Norm Fazikis, and our new patrons, Ed and Julie.
Yay! Thank you, Ed and Julie.
Trust isn't just earned, it's demanded. Whether you're a startup founder navigating your first audit or a seasoned security professional scaling your GRC program, proving your commitment to security has never been more critical or more complex. That's where Vanta comes in. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs across over 35 frameworks, like SOC 2 and ISO 27001, centralized security workflows, complete questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Vanta not only saves you time, it can also save you money. A new IDC white paper found that Vanta customers achieve $535,000 per year in benefits, and the platform pays for itself in just 3 months. Join over 9,000 global companies like Atlassian, Quora, and Factory who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, our audience gets $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/DTNS. That's VANTA.com/DTNS for $1,000 off. Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. This podcast is brought to you by Ecovacs, the global leader in robotic vacuum and mop innovation. Say goodbye to dirty mop water and grimy floors. The all-new Osmo Roller Mop in the Dbot X8 Pro Omni features breakthrough technology that continuously washes itself as it mops. That means no cross-contamination of filth and bacteria, just impeccably clean floors on a roll. Why settle for spreading dirt around when you can have a mop that truly cleans? Ready to experience the future of floor cleaning? Learn more at ecovacsx8.com/roller. That's ecovacsx8.com/roller.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out. Indecision. Overthinking. Second guessing every choice you make. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Beige on beige on beige. In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
There's more going on today. Let's get to the briefs.
Google has been getting serious about being a service provider again. Its Google Fi developments have begun expanding again, and it's working on a more competitive offerings in wireless as well. Google Fi just added an unlimited essentials plan for $35 a month. That'll give you unlimited calls, text, and data, though it does have a 30 gig cap on high-speed data, aka 5G. Other plans are getting higher high-speed data limits as well, and Google Fi now also supports that data-only SIMs for secondary devices, meaning iPad users who have not had physical SIM cards can now sign up for Google Fi. And Google is integrating with iOS so you can listen to voicemails in the phone app instead of having to use the Fi app, and will support RCS messages.
Yeah, it is a competitive plan. It's good to see Google giving attention to Google Fi. Google Fiber is also being expanded. You're seeing more markets being opened up for that as well. It's possible, Jen, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. It's possible that all of this pressure on its advertising business, both from regulation and from competition with OpenAI, may be encouraging it to find other ways of generating revenue like this. So that's good for us.
Diversifying some of the stuff that they already had, but just maybe hadn't been touched enough lately.
I know we got a lot of Google in the news today, but it's all important for understanding this landscape out here because Google's such a behemoth. The remedies hearing is happening in the case where Google was found by Judge Meta to have abused its dominant position in search text advertising. And for those who haven't been hearing me say this every time we talk about it, remedies trials mean the two sides propose what the remedy to the practice should be, and then the judge decides on his own what he thinks the remedy should be. He could take one of their ideas. He might not. In the case of this, Google is going to appeal. So whatever remedy has come up with may not even ever go into place. And whether it will or not is probably going to be put off for years. Anyway, during the hearing, OpenAI's ChatGPT chief Nick Turley was asked by the U.S. Department of Justice attorney that if the judge accepted the DOJ's suggestion that they get rid of Google Chrome, would OpenAI be interested in buying it? And Turley said, as you might expect, yes, we would, as would many other parties. He then went on to speculate how awesome it would be if OpenAI could integrate ChatGPT into Chrome, how worried the company is about distribution, given that other big companies like Google control major distribution points like Chrome. The headlines went a little crazy on this one. If you just read the headline, you might think OpenAI was about to buy Chrome. It's not. This is OpenAI speaking the truth about a speculative option while on a witness stand. It's not an option. It is not likely to be an option, since I find it implausible that the judge will order Google to sell Chrome, or that if he did, Google couldn't overturn that order on appeal. But it certainly is true that OpenAI is concerned about distribution. And yeah, would love the opportunity to try to buy Chrome if it could. It almost felt more like a marketing pitch than testimony, to be honest. Turley also testified that OpenAI has significant quality issues with its number one data provider. He didn't say the name Microsoft, but Microsoft is the number one data provider for search data. Said that OpenAI had asked Google about a partnership, but Google turned him down. This is the DOJ's attempt to bolster its request that the judge order Google to open up its search index to competitors. They're trying to show that that would be beneficial. That one's more likely than Chrome divestment, but I'd still give it less than a 50% chance, if you're asking me.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair read. Like, it's such a big thing. Like, this is going to drag on. I'm very curious to see what other remedies get pitched, just because, like, it's not that it's brand new. Like, we all were kind of around for the Microsoft Internet Explorer thing.
Yeah.
But this is a much bigger money deal than that was. That was just bundling and lack of choice.
Yeah, my guess, as I have said before, is that the judge is likely to order Google to no longer have exclusive contracts for search. Like the days of them having an exclusive search contract with Apple are probably over. They may order them to not have contracts at all. That would be a little farther down the line. I really don't see the judge ordering divestment of Chrome or Android. But I could be wrong. Maybe Judge Meta will be persuaded by the DOJ. That's why you have the hearing, is to determine that sort of stuff and give both sides a chance to sway the judge on what the remedy should be. But like you said, the remedy is going to get appealed. So, and as we saw with Microsoft, they were ordered to divest themselves of Internet Explorer and Windows, and they didn't have to do either one in the end.
Mm-hmm. All right. A little more Google here. Google has decided not to offer a prompt requiring users to agree to third-party cookies in Chrome. Last July, Google said it would do so, but it has changed its mind. You can still turn off third-party cookies yourself, but most users don't. The prompt would have forced the issue. This follows Google changing its mind about killing all third-party cookies in Chrome and essentially ends its plans to make Chrome more private.
Yeah, man. As the worry about the ad market increases, The willingness to do something that affects your ad market goes away. And a lot of people said, I don't believe Google will ever make these changes. And turns out they are right later on, that Google is about facing on this kind of third-party cookie privacy protecting stuff. On the other hand, there's a lot of laws that are governing third-party cookies around the world, especially in the European Union and in California. So, there may be some of that saying, well, we just follow the law now. We don't have to voluntarily do anything. YouTube turned 20 years old on Wednesday and announced some new features. 4 times playback is rolling out to YouTube Premium subscribers on mobile. YouTube TV, which is the cable-like service, different from regular YouTube, is going to let users do side-by-side video of non-sports channels. They already do it for sports, and that's coming in the coming weeks. And multi-view, where you can have 4, is coming in the coming months. Paying users for both YouTube Premium and YouTube Music get Ask Music, which lets you describe the music you want to hear and get a playlist in Android and iOS apps for English, at least right now. Later this summer, the YouTube app for TVs is getting a redesign. This is not YouTube TV, but the regular YouTube app that you watch on a TV. YouTube says it'll have easier navigation, playback, quality tweaks, plus streamlined access to comments, channel info, and subscribing. According to some of the stills they put out, the controls are going to move under the seek bar. All the controls move to the right underneath. All the non-playback controls move to the right underneath. So you don't have to try to skip above the bar to access them. That'll be easier. Title and other details are moving to the upper left, so you have less clutter down at the bottom. And finally, creators are going to get the ability to leave voice comments as replies later this year.
YouTube turning 20 aged me a bonus 20 years.
Next year it can drink in the US.
My God.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, YouTube changed my life from being just a print journalist to ending up on television and everything. And it's crazy to see how it's grown. But in terms of Google fixing neglected thing, oh man, did that TV app need some help?
Yeah, no, it's been getting better and better. And this looks like it's really going to help a lot.
Nintendo said Wednesday it cannot fulfill all the pre-order applications it got in its Japanese store. On Nintendo's Japanese X account, President Shintaro Furukawa said it received 2.2 million applications, which, quote, far exceeds our expectations and far exceeds the number of Nintendo Switch 2 consoles that can be delivered from the My Nintendo store on June 5th. The original Switch sold 360,000 units in Japan in its first month. Now, those who don't get chosen in the lottery to receive an order will be entered into a second lottery. Sales from third parties in Japan begin Thursday, April 24th, which is the same day pre-orders begin in Canada and the US.
Yeah, some of this is them being shocked that there's gambling going on in this casino. But also, I think there's a lot more people probably ordering for resale, because it's going to be harder to get these around the world. There's a lot more complications to the supply chain. So 2.2 million applications is no small number. A lot of people want it.
It's pretty big. Like you're hitting Wii levels of hype. And, cause like the original Switch was kind of a slow starter. Yeah. But now that everyone knows like, okay, we like the Switch, we like where it's going. Now we get a mouse. Now we get the games we like, but better. Yeah, this is going to be like an issue worldwide. I took over a year to get a PS5 just because there weren't that many in Canada.
Yeah, no, there weren't that many anywhere for a while. It took me a little work to get one myself. I don't know when I'll get a Switch 2. I'm sure we'll get one eventually, but I don't think I'll be able to get it out the door.
Same.
Lenovo is using ambient photonics dye-sensitized solar cells in a keyboard. Ambient thinks that its cells are 3 times as efficient as the kind you see in solar-powered calculators, and their goal is to match the price of existing batteries so that you just have solar power in your devices. Ambient told Bloomberg it has shipped its solar cells not only to Lenovo, but 3 or 4 other major customers. The cells are not yet powerful enough to use in phones, but they can power smaller devices like a keyboard, but also a mouse or a camera. Lenovo did not comment on what exact keyboard it is going to use these solar cells in, so keep your eyes out for that.
Counterpoint Research estimates that SK Hynix now holds 36% of the DRAM market, passing Samsung to become the world's largest supplier of RAM. SK hynix specializes in high bandwidth memory chips used in data centers for generative models.
Samsung has resumed the rollout of One UI, One UI 7. Remember, it paused it because of reports of some users in Korea unable to unlock their phones after the update. So hopefully that's fixed.
And 3 Meta-related product updates. Live translation is rolling out to Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses. WhatsApp introduced advanced chat privacy that lets users opt in to prevent any participant chat from sharing the contents of the conversation. And Threads is now open to taking ads from advertisers worldwide.
Yeah. I guess that last is a product update for advertisers, not for end users so much. But
yeah, well, there's a lot going on in the ad world, so we'll see if there's any new controversies from there. But I am mostly looking forward to seeing tests of the live translation in the actual wild.
That could be a game changer if it works really well. We'll see. Those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper into that ongoing story about a new color.
Scientists have reported they have discovered a new color that no one has seen before by stimulating the cones in people's eyes. But they also say you can't reproduce the color without shooting lasers into your eye too. So is this really a color? We decided to ask Dr. Niki to explain.
Niki, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait to talk about something fun.
Yes. New colors. Not a bad thing. So this was published last week in the Journal of Science Advances. They used lasers to stimulate the eye. And 5 people were able to view a color that they are pretty sure nobody has ever been able to see before. How did they do this?
Well, they used a very cool name is what they did. They used a technique that they called Oz, which is basically an array of optic setups and lasers and this is the really, really cool part about this is they were able to optically stimulate individual cells in the eye's retina. So these are cells that can sense light. They're called photoreceptors. And the best part about this is that they were able to stimulate multiple photoreceptors at once. So theoretically, this would allow your brain to display colors that are beyond the known gamut of human color vision. And that's because in normal human vision, any light that comes into the human eye will stimulate some certain photoreceptors called M cone cells. Those are responsible for blue. And those M cones will always activate at the same time as neighboring cells, L and S cones that are responsible for red and green light waves. So you'll always get some kind of combination of the 3 colors. However, with this Oz stimulation, you can target specifically only M cones, and it sends a color signal to your brain that would potentially never occur normally. So people have targeted M cones before, but only 1 or 2 cones at a time, whereas in this technique, they are doing it over a pretty large area of the eye.
This sounds like local dimming in TV display technology, but for your eyes.
That's a way to see it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense where you're like, sometimes you have a little bleed in the signal basically into the other cones, whereas this is laser focused, literally. So that you're only stimulating a cell that would never happen in regular life. What's the technology behind doing that? I assume it's not like a laser pointer. They just point at your eye.
No, it's not what they're doing in Clockwork Orange. It's different.
Yes, good. That's good to know.
So I get to use lots of fancy words for this one. It is called optic scanning light ophthalmoscopy, also. Basically lasers, but really precise lasers. So it's actually really clever the way that they did this. So first they'll image the person's retina of the volunteer, and they'll determine about 1,000 different cone cells. They're not doing the whole retina, but they'll pick out 1,000 of them and specifically pick which ones are the M cones, so that they know. They base this on shape.
So they're mapping it out, basically.
Yeah, they make a little map, and then they use 100,000 laser microdoses per second and fire that at each cone cell. And this is a single monochromatic light, so it's a green laser, like the classic laser. I don't recommend doing this at home.
No.
They have a very specific setup. Don't do this at home. But what they were able to do with this is they produce these hues from this Oz technique. This is what the Oz technique is made up of. And to make sure that the hues that they're producing were working, they asked their participants to perform color matching experiments. So I don't know if you've played this game, Hues and Clues. whose board game. Basically, the participants will look at a map of different colors and place what they're seeing on the map. So that's just how they verify that this is even working at all.
Okay, so
and they confirm that it works.
They're hues and cuesing it until they see that there's agreement, I guess, of like.
Yeah. So there'll be certain oranges, certain reds, and they're all pretty much in agreement.
Okay. So then how do we get to a new color? Yeah.
So this new color's named Olo. Apparently is inspired from the binary 010.
Okay.
And I will say that 5 of the co-authors are the people who volunteered for the experiment, probably because it's hard to get people to volunteer to get lasers zapped into their eyes. And they reported that...
It's a small circle of trust here. Yeah, I get it.
And they do benefit from this. So
yeah.
They reported that Olo appeared all to them as this bluish green teal color. And it was, and I quote, unprecedented saturation. So in order to get it to match anything that they had that was matchable, that was within the previously known color that humans had, they would have to saturate it, unsaturate it a lot more and add white. So they were basically targeting something that they knew they could get, but they didn't know what color it was going to be. And so humans.
Right. I guess it makes sense too. If you normally are mixing cones to produce it, when you eliminate the mix, saturation would go way up. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
How do we know this is really a new color and not just like a really refined version of an existing color?
And that is the question. So like I said up top, the real technological feat here is being able to stimulate a lot of specific cone cells all at once. That's really, really, really cool. People are debating, however, whether Olo is actually a new color. One of the reasons for that is because perceived brightness of colors depends on an individual's cone sensitivity. So if they had gone for red, more people have different levels of sensitivity to red, and maybe, we just naturally see different levels of red, and people are seeing Rolo or whatever at the time. So some other researchers are not convinced that this technically counts as a new color and that it may be a bit of a, clickbait kind of title. But the point is that we were able to do this technique. So I still think that's pretty cool. And we need maybe more people to be able to see this color. So far it's only the authors of the publication.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Especially because when you explained you have to map the retina each time, I'm like, okay, you can't just mass produce something that'll let people see Olo.
Right.
Knowing that, even if it's just a different shade, and not actually a new color, are there applications for this?
Yeah, so it may be a little bit complicated to use as a color to paint your room.
Right.
But the research team says that they're investigating applications for colorblind people to potentially adapt a system that would help them distinguish between certain colors.
So it's less, this isn't a new color in the sense that anyone can see it without this specific stimulus, but the specific stimulus could help adapt vision for people. That's pretty cool to think about. I like that.
Yeah. Would you volunteer to see Olo, Tom?
I would, actually.
Me too. Yeah. I think I'd do it. I mean, I want to know.
It's there. I know it's only 5 people, but none of them had any adverse effects reported. So, I think it's okay as long as they know what they're doing, which they seem like they do.
I'm calling it. It's the new color of the year next year.
Yes, I would like a yellow version.
Okay. Well, we'll put that order in
so that we can call it YOLO.
Oh.
No. And now you're sorry you agreed. Niki, thank you for putting up with that joke. Thank you for explaining this to me and everyone. If folks want to follow what you do, where should they go?
Absolutely. This will go get posted on my website, NicoleAckermans.com. And I'm also at Nicole Ackermans on Blue Sky and all over the place. So go take a look.
Thanks, Niki. Join in the conversation in our Discord. Maybe you can describe that color if you saw it. You can be in our Discord by linking your Patreon account at patreon.com/DTNS.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season. Because between the pre-game rituals and the post-game interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because we hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days, excludes restaurants.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Mark is helping us understand.
Yeah, Mark heard our story about the Adobe models with Andy Beach. He says, great explanation from Andy Beach about model context protocol. In the last week, I've learned about 2 other technologies, A2A and ACP, where MCP is from Anthropic. That's the model context protocol. A2A, which stands for agent to agent, is from Google. And ACP, which stands for Agent Communication Platform, is from IBM. They don't necessarily compete as much as promote a different use case. Thank you, Mark. It's good to know there's a couple other models out there that are worth paying attention to.
Yes, and I hope everyone will pay attention to all those acronyms because there'll be a quiz later.
A2A, ACP, MCP. They're all kind of the same thing, but not competing as much as promoting different use cases. Thank you, Mark.
What are you thinking about? Got some insight into a story? Share it with us over at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Yeah, big thanks to Dr. Niki and to Mark for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. The show is made possible by our patrons at patreon.com/DTNS. Hey, don't forget we have a sister show about music as well. Want music news in less than 5 minutes? Not going to take you long. You can keep up and be like really impressive to your friends. Check out dailymusicheadlines.com. Talk to you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
Ever wonder what your lashes are destined for? The cards have spoken. Maybelline New York Mascara does it all. Whether you crave fully fan lashes with Lash Sensational, big, bold volume from the Colossal, a dramatic lift with Falsies Lash Lift, or natural-looking volume from Great Lash, your perfect lash future awaits. Manifest your best mascara today. Shop Maybelline New York and discover your lash destiny. Shop now at Walmart.